Good morning, councillors. If we could please stand for the prayer. Almighty God, we acknowledge that we have a responsibility to look after your creation, especially this region we call Barcaldine Regional Council. We are conscious that our decisions are going to affect deeply the people we have come here to serve. Assist us to exercise respect for councillors, staff, and for the people of our region. Help us in this meeting to act wisely, justly, and intelligently in all our deliberations. Thank you, Lord, for the privilege of both leading and serving, and assist us to do these well. Amen. Councillors and staff, this month, as in all months, we unfortunately have to mark the passing of, or we unfortunately mark the passing of members of our community, and this month a heavy heart again with the loss of a former leader of our community, a man who was well respected, and members of our staff's personal immediate relations. I'll mention them by name: Mr. Jim Allpass, Mr. John Joseph Plum, better known as Jack, Mr. Patrick Lynch, and Mrs. Joy Melville of Barcaldine, and Mr. James Joseph Doherty of Aramac, and a man known to all and sundry as Bob Marshall, Robert Dines Marshall, former mayor, councillor and mayor of the Aramac Shire Council as it was known, and a true leader in not only agricultural pursuits in his region, but in ensuring a better outcome, a fairer outcome for people, whether they be based in town or rural areas alike, and a man that was eminently respected right till his last breath for his civic leadership, his connections to both sides of what was then his shire in Aramac and Muttaburra were pretty well without parallel in his time, and he will be a true giant lost for the community of Aramac, but more importantly for the Marshall family. And so with that, if we can all please pause for another 2-minute silence in honour of some terrific leadership and a terrific person. Thank you. Councillor Plum, on behalf more broadly of the council, please accept our condolences. It's been a tough year for yourself and Councillor Arthur in terms of those immediate losses, and I share a small degree of your pain, so please do that on behalf of all of us.
Mr. Can I just make the point too that Jim Doherty was also a councillor for I think 2 terms on the Aramac Council, and I just acknowledge that for his community service also
And for those who may not have seen the email, Bob's funeral will be on Friday at 10 a.m. at Aramac Cemetery. We have apologies today from Paula. All of the staff of the council is present. Thank you. Take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands upon which we meet and their elders, both past, present and emerging. I call now for declarations of prescribed conflicts of interest. Councillor Peebles.
Mr Mayor, what did you decide on with regards to structure?
I haven't. I'm leaving that to councillors to decide. I can see both sides of the argument.
Oh, well, Mr Mayor, I'll declare that I have a daughter that works for council, and with regards to the structure that we're going to discuss later on this morning, I'm undecided where I stand with that conflict, and I'll probably be listening to the argument of some of the other co-councillors who find themselves in the same position.
No others.
Not that I can think of offhand. If something comes along, Mr Mayor, that I think I have, I'll declare it.
Councillor Gleeson.
Don't believe so, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hughes.
I don't believe so, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Arthur.
Mr Mayor, I inform the meeting that I have prescribed conflicts of interest in the following. 3.2.4, the resale program tenders. 3.2.5, flood damage package 8, and 3.2.6, flood damage package 7.
Just for the benefit of the council, agenda item 326 won't be presented today due to a non-legal paperwork, so that one's been deleted agenda item.
Okay, so yeah. 2.4 and 2.5. As a close associate of mine as a supplier of road construction material services and plant connected to these tenders. That close associate is Michael Horman Transport, as they are my employer and a client of my sole trader business, Camelot Enterprises, for this project. And I will be leaving the meeting and staying away while it's debated and voted.
Thank you, Councillor Arthur. Councillor Plum.
Yeah, I have one in 3.5.2, the planning and development report. As my son was mentioned there in the 1.5, or reference 1.5, that there might be in the room as previously.
Thank you. So that's a pre-existing declaration. Thank you, Councillor Plum. Councillor Rock.
Mr Mayor, I believe that I've got an MCOI in 3.5.6, the organisational structure, because my husband works for council. So I'll leave the room.
So that is 356, sorry, I just lost it.
6.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Does any councillor present believe any other councillor present may have overlooked a conflict of interest?
Mr Mayor, just with Councillor Peebles and Councillor Rogers in the restructure, my daughter also works for the council, but I'm not really sure if I have a conflict or not, so I'll leave that up to the council to decide whether I have a conflict in that or not.
Councillor Plum, I think you find yourself in the same situation.
On that item, Mr Mayor, can we just clarify, because doesn't it say only the executive level?
One level below the CEO in the Act is all that we actually have the authority to approve. The rest is presented for our information.
That's why we've got the functions under there.
No, that might just help the other councillors clarify that.
Through you, Mr Mayor, my daughter is in the executive level, so I should not have a conflict of that.
All 4 councillors affected by this are in the same situation. Their staff, immediate family members are lower down they fill a function that's lower down the organisational currently and proposed. The only concern you may have is whether the public perception, so the view of Councillor Rogers here is, and I'm not going to speak
Well,
for
it was just thinking about the pub test. So if the community is in the pub and talking about council approving the structure, the organisational structure, and they've got their direct family working for council, whether they would perceive it as a conflict of interest or not. And I probably think they might. Because they don't really understand as much about it as us, so they're just...
We have one councillor who's declared, the other three are holding at this stage. I'm happy at this stage, it's quite a way down the agenda. I'm happy to reach out to King & Co and seek non-binding advice as to whether they think there's a problem on your behalf.
And Mr Mayor, the more I think about it, including the pub test, going back down to just that second tier, I don't think there'd be any issue even with the pub test. Because we're not talking about any of our family, we're talking about the two directors, we're talking about that line and no further below. In my opinion, I don't really think that we do have an issue, but I'd be happy to hear the response from King & Co.
Okay.
And Mr Mayor, when you just asked did I have any others, I just flicked through it again. I do think that I left the room on 3.8.2 at the previous meeting with regard to those late done amendments, so I do that.
Sorry, I don't have a 3.8. 3 what?
3.6.
No, it's 3, neither wrong.
You're in the wrong one.
I'll go back.
You were last man.
Okay, I'll come back again.
Unlike you to live in the past, Councillor Peoples.
I can't find anything, Mr Mayor.
Mr Mayor, I will just, because we haven't received what the regional council business is.
Oh, that's the matters of, give a name for it in the last meeting where you may wish to speak about something that's on the community.
Okay.
It's not a report, it's for councillors to speak in support of an event or a person or an achievement locally. Sorry, it's changed name a bit.
Yeah,
Because I went looking for it too and
yeah, that threw
looked
me.
past it and it took me 6 goes and I nearly had the phone in my hand to ring Debbie and ask where it was. And then I read and I thought, that's what RCP stands for.
Mr Mayor, with the Y-League Town digital cards and myself having a business where this could probably benefit that business, do I need to declare that, in your opinion?
So the decision of council today is to invest in the architecture of or the frame, like the actual system. It doesn't put money into people's pockets, which then directly or indirectly could flow to you. So if we were establishing a process where residents of the council area could apply for and receive a $1,000 card, like other councils have done, say for emergency support during drought or flood or fire, then I would say that most definitely that money could flow to you. This here is only a mechanism for someone else's money to go to you. So it'd be drawing a long bow, but just like the abundance of caution, those decisions ultimately rest with yourself and fellow councillors.
We are asking councillors to spend public money.
But none of that money can go to you. The $1,100 only puts in place a process where other people's money goes to you.
But I would say we are facilitating, because the idea is for local spend, so it's an easier way for money to be spent.
I agree.
And I'm only thinking of it because I know Horman Transport has a square. They don't have FPOS, but they now have a square. So this, yeah, right.
But the councillors, just if we can back up a little minute here, you also have to ensure for a conflict of interest that you're potentially able to receive a benefit or a loss equal to or greater than other members of your community. Now, all businesses in the community benefit from this. This is not a direct benefit to you at the exclusive. So when we're awarding these tender packages, of course, there's a clear conflict of interest because Michael Borman may win or lose as a result of influencing from Councillor Arthur here. Every business in the council area can benefit from this. This is not, are we sealing the road into my property as a decision against doing the one into Councillor Gleeson's property where we both can influence. Whereas in this case, yes, you're a business person and you work for a business person, but all businesses can benefit from this. It's like establishing a park. we're spending public money on something that facilitates local support for the entire business community of the entire council area, not something that one or two discrete individual businesses that you both work for or represent. So I in no way envisage this being a conflict of interest issue, but that's my personal opinion as a councillor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think Lily did put in her statistics that the groceries and the pubs were the main beneficiaries of the cards. So
Petrol stations, I think it was, councillor
I
Rogers.
thought it was
Groceries.
hotels.
Either way,
Hotels and groceries.
that they may be the one who
But
people
like-
choose to put it towards, but the system isn't geared
I
towards
know,
them. We're not
but
putting in
she
place
says-
that.
And you're not
Just
the
we've got
only
that
person
data.
that's receiving it. You're the only one in Narromake that will do
It
this.
doesn't matter. I understand what the mayor said and what you were saying, councillor Plum, but it's still that perception that's there that you were spending some public money where there could be a benefit to your business. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to declare.
The public money though doesn't go to your business, it goes to an external company, believe it or not, ironically, that's not local. We give them $1,100 to allow locals to spend money locally, like, we're not giving you the money.
But it's encouraging for it to be spent at our local businesses.
Correct, yeah. I mean, arguably, anyone who operates a small business in the council area, including myself, Councillor Gleeson, every single one of us. People could use these cards to come and buy a steer off me to have for Christmas lunch.
Only if you have FPOS or a square.
That's right, but all I've got to do is go to Harvey Norman and buy one. My sister, who's an immediate family member, does have one that she uses for the fading tier. Every single person in this room, with the exception of possibly Councillor Anson, would have a conflict of interest in this if we apply that test. They can come and buy something off you. You're a registered small business operator. If you chose to get a card, someone could pay you with one of these cards. Councillor Plum works for Elders. You could sell them the Fat and Pig.
I probably have more traffic than anyone in the room, but Mr. Mayor, and I am still going to declare.
Okay. Council people are declaring a prescribed conflict of interest. I'll declare one as well. If we're following that test, so I'll be out of the room on the basis that my business, Surbiton Station, may be affected by the decision of council.
And I shall join
Councillor Arthur,
Mayor Dillon.
Well, Mr. Mayor, now that you've pointed that out, we all need to declare.
that's my point. It's one in or all in here, councillors.
If I can just simplify it, it's about the cards we currently have don't work every week. So we're looking at so they can. So
And I appreciate that, and that's where even though it is a very small volume of the traffic that Michael Horman Transport, they do have the square. So this decision has more connection to previously when it was only FPOS and they don't have FPOS.
I think mine's a bit different to you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a retail business.
So am I. Sell upwards of $3 million worth of cattle a year.
Percentage of that you sell via square?
But the percentage that I sell locally is a lot higher than you may think.
But who's going to buy a card to do business with you?
But anyone could. The possibility exists. I'm a registered local business. I'm a registered business that operates within the council area. I literally could benefit from this the same as anybody else if I chose to. This mechanism is a mechanism that no council money going there, but I'm not going to, if a local businessman who is a councillor believes they have a prescribed conflict of interest in this, I've got to apply the same test.
I'll have to declare an interest in this as well, because I use Square.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we don't actually decide where the money is spent,
no,
and we don't even decide who gets that money, do we?
Well, today, the $1,100 we decide goes to the company that administers this remotely.
So, in defence of Councillor Beckton, that we don't decide who gets the money, we don't decide where it's spent. I'm a bit sort of with you, I don't think any of us have really got it.
it's all free choice. This is just a mechanism to try
Anyway,
have that debate.
as it is, 4 of us have declared, so therefore we no longer have a quorum. Those three that haven't declared will now form part of the Delegated Decisions Committee. So that is Councillors Plum, Gleeson and Henson. This will be item number 1 on their agenda.
We've got 2 decisions on the structure, you're saying.
Well, we know we haven't had enough declared on that. There's only 1. 2.
And I'd be very interested, Mr Mayor, in hearing what the company had to say about that.
Okay. Any further prescribed conflicts of interest so we can move on to declarables? Councillor Plum, do you have any declarable conflicts of interest? Councillor Hart?
No, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hanson?
No, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Gleeson? Councillor Peoples? Councillor Rogers?
Yes, Mr Mayor, just the standing depth of terrible conflict of interest that I've had.
Sorry.
Scott
Sorry, councillors, I just want to backtrack it. Sorry, I knew this was here, I wanted to get it in writing. Ordinary business is a matter that no councillor needs to declare as a conflict of interest. And in the definition of ordinary business is your interest is no greater than a significant proportion of other community members, e.g. all people in a suburb, all people in a small town, all business owners, or all dog owners. So all business owners, I can't see how Councillor York or mine or Councillor Rogers or whoever else declared, Councillor Arthur, is it all business owners could benefit from this. So that therefore makes it a default, that's the definition of ordinary business. So therefore, your interest is no greater than any other business owner. There's no business owner that cannot benefit from this if they choose to. They have to elect to have a tile or an EFTPOS machine. That's all they have to do. Anyone who does that is a business owner so that is directly from the Act. Anyway, I'll just leave that there. Councillor Roberts.
Can you, Mr Mayor, sorry, Councillor Rogers, can you just raise that question for King and Co too while you're talking, please?
Mr Mayor, I have declarable conflict of interest in 3.6.5, the Aramac Manager's Report, and 3.6.7, the Progress Report, as defined in Section 150 of the Local Government Act 2009, and the nature of the interest is the Lake Dunn Sculpture Trail mentioned in the reports. So, as previously, I would wish to participate in receiving the reports, and I acknowledge that my fellow councillors need to determine that.
Unless anyone wishes to change the standing position on those pre-declared DCOIs, is Councillor Rogers Kent stay, sorry, any problem? No? Any further DCOIs that anyone thinks they may have overlooked? Right, very good. We can move to 3, 2, 1. Councillor Rogers, can I share the words? Yes.
I think we've left out the confirmation.
Oh, you're very much correct. We have. Can you chair the meeting for
Yes.
that, please? Thank you.
Mr Mayor. So, item 3.2.1, which is the Regional Arts Development Fund application.
Mr Deputy, we haven't.
Sorry.
Can
Oh.
Do these ones first.
Yeah. So, there are.
Just realise that. Item 1.
On the screen, Deputy.
Do I have a mover that the general minutes, the meeting of the general minutes for September be received? Councillor Gleeson, and seconder, Councillor Hanson.
Excuse me, Deputy, I have an amendment to make on the 26th of September meeting.
So does anyone have any? Councillor Plum has an amendment.
Yeah, so could I just have it amended that in the second prescribed conflict of interest, change that from my son to a family member that under KU Squatch and Sons contracting, please. My son didn't have both of my conflicts of interest. one to get.
Thank you, councillor Plum.
Excuse me, Councillor Plum, was that your conflict of interest?
Yes, for last month. In the minutes.
Thank you.
Do we have, do I need a mover and a seconder for that amendment? Can I have a mover for that amendment? Is there any other amendments before? Okay.
It's just moved that they be adopted, incorporating that. It's in the same way motion can do that.
So, councillor Gleeson, are you happy to adopt those with that amendment included? And councillor
Yes,
Hanson? So there's no petitions that I
Oh,
Just need a vote, please,
Oh,
for
sorry.
receiving and
vote on that.
Mr. Mayor, what about the special meeting on the 12th of September?
Yeah, that's the next one.
Oh,
Look at the next
sorry.
one down.
The Sunday.
we did them
Special-
last
No, we did
time.
that the last
Oh,
meeting.
we did them last meeting.
Oh,
Oh,
right, very good.
it's in the.
It's on the agenda, but it's obviously just relating to your
Sorry.
petitions.
So did anyone have any petitions that to the council? No petitions, reports?
Madam Deputy Mayor, can I just raise a question, please?
Councillor Nichols?
Shane, I spoke to you about the special meeting minutes and I thought they were incorrect. Did you have a chance to have a look at them?
I haven't, to be honest, I haven't looked at it enough. But we'd already adopted them, so go back and chase.
The thing about the special meeting minutes, where I quickly saw, unless I saw something that was just a, it's got in those minutes from memory that we agreed at that special meeting to go ahead with the purchase of that land out there, which wasn't the case. We left it sit on the table to come back to our general meeting. So can someone just please check that special meeting minutes and because I think they're incorrect.
We'll do that in a break, if that's okay.
So the next item would be 3.2.1. Regional Parks Development Fund application. So this is an application that was put in by the CWA to have a garden art workshop, and the committee approved that. So do I have a mover for that council accepts that?
I'll move that, Mr Mayor. Madam.
And seconder, councillor Plum, that we accept the committee's recommendation to approve that. So.
Just a vote, please, Madam Chair.
Hands up who approves that, so 7-0. Voting on this.
Councillors, through the Deputy Mayor, I'd suggest that we leave agenda item 322 until later in the meeting, please.
Move on to agenda item 3.2.3, the fleet purchase. So, do we need a discussion about that?
Carries.
Yeah, Kerry says.
Kerry, you want to say something about this?
Well, through you, Madam Chair, we went through the full process. Prices came in a lot more, as we discussed at the previous special meeting on plan, a lot more than what we did expect. Out of the 4 tenders received, MTE was the was the best financial offer. Operationally, I've sat down with the fleet manager and we've gone through all the procedures, the specifications, etc. And this is the best option. So we know that we need a street sweeper. We've also checked the market to see what's available second-hand throughout Australia. Most of the items that are not new are pretty close to that price as well, up around $300,000. So they hold the value that I propose that this is our best option.
Thank you, Terry. Is there any speakers for this motion? I'm going to have to put it.
Yep, I'm back now. Thank you. Councillor Plum.
Through you, Kerry, is this the truck that we actually got a view of that they demonstrated?
Not the same truck.
Not the same truck?
No, it's not.
Because I was looking at the time of delivery and it says 11 months, and I think that one that we saw there was one possibly
It was,
being delivered.
Councillor Plum, the unit we saw up here was actually a second-hand unit. Okay. And it wasn't very good price. That's why it was snapped up fairly quickly by another person who wanted it. I think it was a mining company. But, no, it's not. We're not looking at apples and apples here. The specification is very close. There's a couple of items or a couple of processes where this particular vehicle will do everything that other one would do.
So is it a model up or a model down from the ones?
Well, you really can't compare the two.
Yeah.
But, with all the functions, functionality-wise, you can compare them.
Yeah.
It's not a model up or down. It'll do exactly what the other one will do. It's just the hopper sizes are different. So where you're loading the material into, okay, you look at volumetric capacity as well as load. So they're not exactly the same thing.
Thank you.
Councillor, did I see an arm down here? Councillor Gleeson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the tender 3 is just a smaller capacity. The motor, the drive, everything is the same, but it's just a smaller capacity.
Exactly. Yeah.
In your opinion, I know you've done all the homework, but in your opinion, we're better off paying the $40,000-$50,000 extra to get an extra cubic meter? Is it, yeah.
Not necessarily, no. So I don't particularly, in my opinion, a cubic metre of load, you're not far away from where you're going to dispose of your load or offload. So, we're going to drive the vehicle across the whole region. It holds a lot of material. Where I'll be looking at a larger hopper is, say, if we're out on roadworks and picking up, blue metal, excess metal to, stop windscreens being smashed, etc. So,
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, even though the resolution says item 3, but in that graph we're actually looking under name of tenderer 1, isn't it?
tender of one, yes.
Item 3 option.
For item 3, option of a 165,300.
Is that fair? What was it?
No, that's the model of the truck.
Yeah.
So just back on the councillor, while someone's sorting that out, back on Councillor Gleeson's question, I had the same thought. The only question I had was the smaller tyres, Councillor Gleeson. Oh, it's running on smaller tyres, given that we could be doing a bit of height, not markedly so, but they are smaller. They're not 11Rs, they're 19-inch rims. That would be my first concern there, perhaps running on the 265 19.5 inches instead. Whether you thought that might be
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I've got I'm a bit confused with the dollar figure up there rating to the item number.
And, sorry, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Leeds, that was my point, like, because that says item 3,
That is-
whereas I think we're actually talking about the first item.
It's all of it's wrong anyway.
Because I like, and I don't know whether it's just a naming convention thing. Like in that chart, it's got name of tender 1, 2, 3, which is the smaller truck. But we're actually talking about name of tender 1, that column. Is that right? Because that's where the dollar figures add up.
That's correct, that's the right dollar figure.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it should be right.
That's
Should
the
be
dollar.
item 1.
That 415 is for item 1.
Well, tender of 1.
Yeah.
Tender 1.
I'm sorry, that is the reason I asked the question, Mr Mayor, in the first place. Because I wasn't looking at the item, I was looking at the dollar. And then I went straight across and the question I asked was no, item 3, a better proposition for $50,000 less. And in one way, we're agreeing, and then, Mr Mayor, I do totally agree with you. You're better off with bigger tyres and they stand up more. But now that we've got the dollars and the item lined up, that's we're in 2 different lines now. Or we're back to the same line.
Can we just change that just for the purpose of clarity to tender of 1, please? Well, or I'm guessing that when these came in, that was the third option from that tenderer, that's why the wording's confused. And then they put it into the graph the other way around. So that 1 year extended warranty and or 1 year 1,000 hours takes it again to, we'll take it to 96, or is that the 72 inclusive of the optional extra? Sherry?
I'm just trying to get the actual, what we received up, Mr Mayor.
And that extended warranty of 1 year, 1,000 hours only applies to the truck, not the sweeper unit?
No, complete unit.
Right. It's just that because the sweeper unit's only 24-month warranty, 15,000 hours.
Yeah, that's a standard.
Yep. So so the optional extra is for the sweeper unit to go up by another 12 months or 1,000 hours, not the truck.
Truck, it comes as a complete unit, so they don't separate it. This is MTE,
Yeah, that's
so we're
right.
not buying a warranty from Isuzu.
But they're 2 different warranties,
I know they are 2 different warranties.
2 different periods of time, I mean.
No, I know, I understand that. This extra hours is for the whole unit complete.
So it'll go, the sweeper unit will go with that to
Should
36
36, yeah.
or 2,500,
Yeah.
and the truck will go up to 96.
Yes. Right, that's the way I read the explanation from MTE.
$84, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, yeah, I'm going up by 2 years. Yeah.
Because initially I didn't read it that way, Mr Mayor. I only read it as because it's 1 year and 1,000 hours
There's no hours applied to the truck.
to the truck.
Yeah.
And also a question, the trade-in, that is for the smaller street sweeper that we have. Do we consider it of more value than $5,000? Because that's...
I read it as 14, that's right.
Yeah, but we also then lose the $9,000 no trade bonus.
Oh, yes.
So that really makes it only worth $5,000. If we think it's worth more than $5,000, are we better off to take the no trade bonus and go and trade it?
Through you, Mr Mayor, maybe send it to one of the small communities like Maybar or Jericho or Ararat or something like that.
Bring the purchase price back.
Well, if we don't trade, it adds $5,000, but then if we think that street sweeper is worth 7.5, 10, we will pay $5,000 more for that, but then if we get $10,000 more for the, I don't know, maybe the street sweeper's only worth $5,000.
It's in,
In one part, they say it's worth 15.
it says the trade price included in the tender.
There is.
$14,000.
Yes,
Yeah, but we lose $9,000 of the no trade bonus. So if we don't trade, we save $9,000, but yes, we don't get the 15, so that's only a net value of, say, $6,000.
We might be there for March.
No, it costs us more to keep it going every year than it does. Then it's probably,
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe that, in my opinion, the current street sweeper, we'd be lucky to get $10,000 for it. We sold it, separately.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone, before we go to the formal debate on this, does anyone wish to explore one of the other options other than what's presented? As in one of the other machines or tenders? Right. Does anyone wish to speak against acquiring that particular listed machine or a component within that?
Mr Mayor, I'm against, but I've made those arguments previously just on, the budget we've got this year and how much we're spending on plant, so I'll be voting along those lines.
Can I just on that, with the delivery timeframe, there'll be no upfront payment required for this? It will be a deposit?
Yes.
Well, look at 10%, 15%.
I'm just looking that up now on the original.
And as previously spoken, Mr Mayor, my preference was to probably try and buy the stabiliser ourselves, not use this.
Being set up on the
Currently 15. Right, so councillors, this budget will only wear 15% of that price. So it will be a deferred, the actual majority of this outlay will be in the 24-25 budget.
In through you, Mr Mayor, just to clarify, so the optional extras like the GPS system and weighing system, we're not going that way, we're just going with the, and I would say that extended warranty is only for the sweeper because that's the optional cost, 12 months.
Yeah, that's the way I read that too. So is the weighing system, it's a luxury, not required?
No.
All right.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, one
Councillor Gleeson.
Did we agree, have we agreed as a council to purchase a street sweeper or to just get prices on a street sweeper?
We haven't agreed to purchase one, that's what this is. But it was in our
budget review?
it was in the budget to buy one,
Thank you.
but for less money than that, obviously. 380, I think was the figure, was it 360?
390.
So,
We did have discussions, Mr Mayor, around the stabiliser and this, and we're going to get some figures and what have you come back about the stabiliser today.
Well, Mr Mayor, if we're going to talk about this, I'll let you.
yeah, no, the two were never listed as exclusive of each other though. individual councillors may have made them in their mind it was one or the other, but it was certainly never formally resolved that way. The stabiliser was out of the budget, so you don't need to leave. It's not in the budget at all, never was. It was in budget working documents, but it was never put in the budget, whereas this was. And the option is still for that to be presented, but it's not, was never a case of one or the other. I mean, it probably was in your initial discussions, but it certainly didn't finalise that way. Much to my disappointment as well. All right, do I have a mover for that resolution as it stands? Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Hanson. Any finalising of debate?
Mr Mayor, I think it's an exorbitant cost, but considering the state of some of our gutters, that we physically don't have the resources to, and health and safety with shoveling gutters, and we're just not physically able to keep up with it for most of the year in most of our towns. I would much prefer if we didn't have to spend it, but do we have any idea of ongoing costs, like it's going to be good for 10 years, or like with the sweeper units after 5 years, are we looking at 25, 30 grand for? I just noticed that the warranty on those is a lot smaller compared to the physical truck, which you would think then means that they have a lot less life than the truck. And having little to no experience with a street sweeper, would be interesting to know.
Through you, Madam Chair, Mr.
No, back to
I'm back to Mayor, sorry. Through you, Mr. Mayor, from my experience on these street sweepers, not this particular one, okay, I'm very familiar with the stalk. The maintenance costs are your parts that wear, so your brooms, you've got to obviously do maintenance on either your hydraulic blower motor or your roots blower. Okay, there's hoses that do wear, but it's no more than any other piece of plant. You know, so you probably look at it, probably $10,000 a year in servicing. But you know, the parts wear out fairly quickly. You know, as the gutters are abrasive to the brooms, they're metal tipped brooms. But, and the metal flies off. You quite often see them laying in the gutter and think, what's that from? It's a broom tip from a street sweeper. But the brooms and the vacuum all work together, so if it's not picking up, and if the driver drives too quickly, he won't pick up. If he drives too slow, you'll see that on the result of your sweep. Also, you've got to pick the time of day. You don't want to be sweeping too early in the morning because these things are noisy. And you know, people in other towns, they sweep around about 6 o'clock in the morning, which I don't agree with personally, because we've got noise regulations and we're not exempt from those noise regulations. But parked cars are a problem, so you've got to pick the right time and the right day to your sweep. But about maintenance, you'd probably average on the sweeper truck itself, or the sweeper apparatus on the back of the truck, up to about $10,000 a year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have a costing on the little street sweeper that costs us some maintenance here?
Thank you for what we.
Through the Chair, the current street sweeper, since we bought it in 2017, it's cost us about 170,000 in maintenance. Maintenance, fuel and oil, so 160, 150, about 155,000 in maintenance and parts.
Since the 6 years.
One. I'll put it in there.
So that's about 25k a year.
Mr Mayor, can I just ask a question?
You certainly can, councillor Plum.
If
Want me to
we,
speak up?
Sorry. Sorry, you're councillor Plum and then Gleeson.
Why don't you speak up, please, councillor Plum?
with regards to the no trade, if this is not being delivered for 11 months and the little sweeper that we've got now deteriorates, do we still get that or do they revalue it when they swap it over?
You, Mr Chair, it would be revalued.
So that we can make a choice of whether we do trade it or we don't then or not?
Yes, we could.
Yeah, that's all right. I just thought if it wasn't worth a lot and we lost our, as Councillor Arthur said, our no trade bonus, then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Gleeson, did you have a point?
Mr Mayor, I've got to agree with Councillor Arthur. It's a lot of money. I'm a little bit disappointed that we have to spend so much money, but in this day and age, you can't get labour, can't get people to go and sweep a gutter anyway. But one more question before I go. Item number 3 is $40,000 less. Is it only it is a little bit of carrying capacity and tyre size? Is that all we're looking at? The rest is all comparable? The hopper capacity is identical. The carrying capacity is 3 tonne less. And the tyres are smaller.
That's it. Is that it? Sorry, I'm not on the wrong spreadsheet.
But my only question is the capital, the buying price is 415 and 374. Most line items add up, except for the tyre size. And I agree that you want to be standing up on bigger tyres, but is it worth $50,000?
The other issue I had with standing up on bigger tyres, not only for driving, was it obviously delivers you better clearance as well.
I agree, I just wanted to ask the question.
One big benefit that I noted out of all 3 Isuzu options is no output. And that's a huge bonus at the moment to be a plant item without that, because they're a pain in the neck. Does anybody else, while that answer questions being answered, Councillor Rogers, do you have any comments?
I'm just thinking about, Kerry was saying that because we're not going to be using it out into the main roads jobs, like that larger carrying capacity is probably not necessary.
Will we be not using that there?
We would, but we wouldn't be travelling long distances, right? We'd sweep and then dump at a dump point where the loader can pick it up. So vacuum up a load and just move it to a stockpile point. We won't be travelling long distances with big loads of material.
Just that option 3 keeps us within our budget.
All right. It would appear that there's no other differences carry on than those that are outlined by Councillor Gleeson, so where are we at here, councillors? You raised the issue, Councillor Gleeson. Would you like to see that? Which option would you prefer?
Mr Mayor, we're exceeding our budget by a considerable amount. We haven't had a decent street sweeper for a long time. I'm leaning towards the item number 3, just to save. I haven't worked it out exactly, but it's nearly 40,000.
35, isn't it? Councillor Rogers?
I agree with councillor Gleeson that I'm not up, like I don't understand the real significance of the tyres, whether that's a large handicap to the truck or not. Councillor Gleeson, you don't think it would be a great problem, the small tyres?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would like to see a vehicle on bigger tyres, but you can also put bigger tyres on any vehicle at a later date if you want to. So that, we can easily get around that option for a few $1,000s, not $40,000. The bigger the tyres, the better they are, there's no doubt. But that's my opinion.
Cost you at least half of 35,000 to change it. Because you'd have to get someone to sign off on the change for a start, Kerry.
Yeah.
The manufacturer especially,
Yeah.
if you want to maintain the warranty.
And you see through you, Mr. Mayor, the big cost differential is between the two types of truck. One at 181,600 and 150,265. Difference between FED and a FSR.
They're just different trucks, pure and simple.
Yeah. That's 30 odd.
And then there's, through you, Mr. Mayor, there's an additional 10,000 difference in the body, etc.
That's right.
I'm saying that the majority of the cost is in the vehicle itself.
Right. Is anyone else in favour of switching trucks?
I don't necessarily want to disagree with the officers, but I would like to try and save 40 grand.
Which 3? Councillors, 2 councillors have moved and seconded as it is.
I'll stick with that. But like I said, I don't know enough. I've got to take the officers.
Councillor Peoples, not just, I know you're going to vote against it anyway, most likely, but would one of the 2 options change to make any difference to you?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
My issue is,
Having one full stop.
yes, and also I thought we were going to weigh up the possibility of using that money into a stabiliser. And I must have misunderstood those discussions on the day.
The other difference I'd point out, no, it is listed on page 14 of your agenda. There is a difference between the 2 trucks. Is that right? Yes. The FBD is an airbag rear suspension versus, so the officer's recommendation here, which is the FBD. Correct? Yeah. So option 1 is air, whereas the FSR is leaf. Which for me is the breaker of the deal, to go back to the office. I haven't given my opinion, but I would move to option 1 on that basis. Given that this is going to be driven from town to town, not just driven around town wouldn't make, around Barcaldine town wouldn't make any difference, but driving it from one to the other, the little short wheelbase things like this, if we want the operator to look after it, we're better off giving him a good drive. So Councillor Plum and Hanson have moved, unless either of them wishes to change their recommendation. I'm going to put that resolution to the vote. Those in favour? Against?
Begrudgingly, Mr. Mayor.
Against? The vote is carried 5-2. Councillors Rogers and Peoples. Thank you for joining us, Richard. Hope you enjoyed that little discussion. Richard's joining us for the flood damage package, is that correct?
Yes.
Right. With your leave, given the time of day of councillors, I'd like to move to agenda item 325, which you have agreed.
And 4 as well.
Oh, sorry, you are here for the reseal as well. Right, my apologies. Well, in which case you're out. Okay, the reseal program for this year is 840,000. Dan, the budget for the reseals this year was?
1.2 million.
Right, so we're under budget, very good.
Just want to note, there is a couple of other items of road that have come into that reseal. So main roads, we're doing the reseal program on the highway through Jericho, and we took the opportunity to
Do the verges.
do the verges, which was 35,000 as well. That's still well under.
Yeah, that's separate to this 840 because that was done through a different contract.
Yes, that's correct.
That was very, very astute pickup to do that whilst they're paying for the mobilisation, and also it means that the whole street from the centre line to the curb is maintained at the same time, rather than being done. So even if it was a dearer unit cost, it's still good. Richard, have you got a list of roads that are and streets that are not necessarily the changes, just to give councillors an understanding broadly of the roads and the streets that are affected here?
Yeah, so there's a fair few.
Unless councillors really need this for the decision, I'm happy for it to receive that via email after this, unless you are, like these have been identified. Can you just lead us through the process that's led to their identification? Unless we need to drill down into the individual roads, we can provide that by supplementary information.
So the initial drafting of the program was based off outstanding works from previous years, and so that list was put together, was then provided to council and senior work supervisors for comment. Any additional works were added into that, and then that device scope was then entered into tender. So that's how the scope was devised for this year anyway.
That scope, Mr Mayor, hasn't changed since it was presented to council at the workshop.
Yeah. So councillors, you've all seen this in draft version, but we'll give you the final, or what was proposed, I should say, but we can just re-advise you of that by way of email, so you know what the confirmed schedule is. Does any councillor have any questions for any of this?
Mr Mayor?
Yes, councillor Pepper.
Have we used RPQ before?
And yes, is the answer to that. Richard? Yes.
Yeah. For some minor work.
Some minor works? Okay. Because a lot of our work's been with Boral, hasn't it?
Fulton Hogan did some as well.
I think it's varied over the last few years throughout the whole region as well, but the majority would have been with Boral and then Fulton Hogan, yeah.
So we know these fellows, we're happy that they...
Yeah, I've worked fairly extensively with RPQ over the last few years,
Okay.
and I've had no issues with their quality of work or anything like that throughout the whole region.
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Peoples, I thought 3 was to be right. Thought that they did the Aramac airstrip. I thought they were using the Aramac airstrip.
They've done airstrips. I wasn't going to put a name to it, but they've definitely done one of them. I think they might have done here. I'm going back quite some time here, Richard, but did they do here too?
I believe so, I'm not 100% sure though.
I'm going way back to when Jason Ricks was our chief engineer, so the last council RPQ did some work for both us and TMR at the same time. We bulked the work up at the same time. All right. No further questions? Is there a mover that we accept the resale program for a figure of 840,476? Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Seconder, Councillor Gleeson. Debate. Vote. Those in favour. Motion carried 6-0. Thank you, Richard. Right. We can now move to 325. Flood damage package 8. Can I please? I will move that we move into closed session for the purposes of discussing a contractual arrangement which may be prejudicial to the interest of council to discuss in open session. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried. Meeting is in closed session. Do I have a mover for the resolution, please? Councillor Hanson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Rogers. I'll put the resolution to the vote. Those in favour? 5-0. We'll now adjourn the meeting for morning tea. Thank you for attending and explaining those two.